Welcome to the ETFinalScore.com preview show. I'm Trevor Peel, accompanied by Chris Perry and Travis Yosting. On today's agenda, we have Robert E. Lee and John Tyler, soccer and basketball. First, let's start off with soccer, Travis. Now, the first article you wrote this year about the John Tyler boys soccer team is that they're hoping to have a similar season to last year. Break that down a little bit for us.
Well, you know, they graduated a lot of seniors from last year just like they had the year before, but last year they had a great season, won district, and had a pretty good run in the playoffs. This year they're off to kind of a similar start. Last year they won the Lancaster tournament. This year they almost won. They got runner-up, lost in penalty kicks in the final, but so far pretty good performances for them.
So far they've started off pretty well for this season?
Definitely. You know, they've got a big test this weekend going to a Longview tournament where they're going to play Mount Pleasant, Kilgore, two real good East Texas teams, and they'll be tested there.
Now, over on the ladies' Lady Lions soccer side, they have a new coach. Do you know a little bit about him?
Yeah, you know, Cobb Mendoza, he's been the assistant boys coach the last couple of years. He switched over to the girls' side, and he's got them off to a pretty good start. You know, they went 2-1 in the Pine Tree tournament, only lost to Pine Tree, which is always good, and they only lost 2-1 when last year Pine Tree knocked them out of the playoffs 4-0. So far so good for them as well. Now,
the Lady Lions soccer team, they do have a first-team all-district player. Can you tell us a little bit about her and how they plan on using her?
Esperanza Zavaleta, she's one of their top players. They're using her kind of in the middle of the park, let her distribute, as opposed to last year. She was kind of relied on to do more. Now they want her to bring in the other players into the game and involve everyone.
Awesome. We'll definitely keep our eye on both John Tyler boys and girls soccer team. Now, Chris, the boys soccer team, is one of the articles you wrote, have one heck of a stopper in the net.
Yeah, Daniel Abarca is fantastic. He was a big reason why Robert E. Lee was able to have such a strong finish to district last year, make the playoffs. Then they defeated Rowlett, who's going to be one of their future district opponents, in the playoffs in a scoreless draw where he won the penalty kick shootout. He's the big guy, the X factor for Robert E. Lee, because if you've got that guy in the net, you feel pretty comfortable about pretty much what you can do, because you know he's going to stop shots. They had kind of an up and down first week. They were able to finish as consolation champions in the tournament in Keller that they went to. The Robert E. Lee girls, they kind of struggled a little bit scoring goals, but talked to Chris Woodard, and of course we talked to the coaches all the time on the phone whenever they're coming back from games. And I think if he had his choice, he'd like them to build towards district. Last year they came out like gangbusters and pretty much won almost every game, and then in district they just couldn't find the right mixture. I think he'd love to build and then be really, really good once district starts.
Now, something you also noted is that there's a lot of new starters for this boys soccer team.
Yeah, they're loaded all over the place with new faces. Really, though, it kind of starts with the Barca in the back and their defense. Coach Germany said the number one thing with Robert E. Lee is he's going to have to find goal scorers. He's got a lot of guys that he's looking at, but he really didn't mention one name to me as someone who he really wants to stick out as the goal scorer. He thinks that's going to come as the season goes on. And of course, with Abarca, you're not going to have to score that many goals, because he should pretty much keep the other team under control. As for the girls, Alex Bice was fantastic last year. She got on a roll scoring goals, and then she kind of tapered off a little bit during district. I think they want to have her take the next step. Adriana Perez has been fantastic, and Jasmine Navarro is our All East Texas newcomer of the year last year. She should just take the next step and be even better this year.
Yeah, speaking of the girls, an article you wrote, they're seeking a resurgent year. Explain that a little bit for us.
Well, they were so good. I mean, they were so good for so long. They almost didn't lose a district game for about 5 years. They went 13. I was trying to remember. They went, I think it was like 13 consecutive years. Maybe it was 19 consecutive years. They went to the playoffs. I sat there and counted all those years up just so I knew for sure. And they've gone 2 now without, and it's a different feeling. But Coach Woodard is very excited about this team. He thinks he has some of the players in place to get them back to the postseason, which is where they really have grown accustomed to being. And now they got to try to take not just the next step of getting to the postseason, but to try to go 2, 3, 4 rounds deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. So John Tyler soccer, Robert E. Lee soccer, both boys and girls, both these guys will keep you updated. Now let's switch some gears over to basketball. Now, Chris, I'll start with you. The Lady Raiders team, they're 3-3 in district. What are some things that you see these girls need to work on?
Well, I wouldn't say work on. From the team I saw at the beginning of the season to what the team I saw last night, it's like night and day. Robert E. Lee is so much better passing wise. defensive wise, looking for the open girl, finding easy shots, easy baskets. They missed a lot of easy shots last night. But when you lose to Rockwall, there's no harm in losing to Rockwall. Rockwall was probably one of the best teams I've seen this year. I thought they did such a good job with back cutting, with finding the open player. Sometimes it looked like Lee would have a perfect trap, and the girl would find someone wide open underneath the basket just by making that extra pass. And Robert E. Lee was able to hang with Rockwall pretty much all the first quarter into the second quarter, with both teams doing the exact same thing. It was really, really great to watch. But then Lee's shots stopped falling, and Rockwall just never stopped. I mean, Rockwall just kept doing what they did in that first quarter all the way through. I think if you talk to Coach Boyles, she's happy right now. They're 3-3. They're in fourth place in the district. It's a pretty difficult district. They've got a chance to secure a playoff spot if they keep this up in her first year, which would be fantastic for Lee going into the new district. As for the guys, they had a nightmare start. 0-2 start, played Lakeview Centennial, got beat by double digits. Then they go on the road and play Garland, a team they defeated in a non-district game, and they beat them by double digits. So you're wondering, well, is this the Lee team that we saw? I mean, which team are we going to see? Yeah. Well, Lee has found its way, and they've won the last two district ball games, and they've done it without Garrett Thibodeau. Yeah. Thibodeau got hurt. He played a little bit last night whenever they won at Rockwall, but it's the big guy who stepped up for him was Trey Watson. Trey Watson, the big 6'7" post, has really come alive for Robert E. Lee. And I think now once Thibodeau comes back healthy, now you got two guys in the middle. So I think that could be really good for Lee going forward.
So, of course, Thibodeau's one of the main guys on the boys' side. What girl has kind of stood out, or has it just been overall?
I'm very impressed. She's a freshman, but Jacayla Bowie is fantastic. I mean, she's really, really good. Anytime you talk to Coach Boyles, she constantly heaps praise on her guards, Alex Thorne and Tree Brooks. Tree Brooks, the point guard who makes everything go. Alex has been instrumental with her offense and steals and things like that. But really, it's a complete team effort. I mean, it really is. Now, the team that he covers, though, girls-wise, is I mean, talk about that score, Travis.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're gonna get over there to that. We're gonna talk about, of course, like the girls, like you said, they're on a different route. They're cruising right now through District 5-0. Played Jacksonville earlier this week. Pretty much averaged them to 3 points a quarter. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, it was very lopsided, 73-12 final. Obviously Jacksonville has some injuries. There's some mitigating circumstances there, but John Tyler is also that good. They didn't even play their starters, but maybe 15 minutes, and they still. The JT girls, they kind of remind me a little bit of the Kentucky men in college basketball, just the fact that they have two platoons that they can throw out there, that both of them are impressive. Both of them can beat most teams in that district.
Now they're just playing fundamentally sound basketball overall as a team?
It starts on their defense. When they pressure the ball, they get steals, they get turnovers. That's where they get their offense going. That's where they find most of their offensive production. When they aren't getting steals, they can still, score in the half court. They've got a lot of good shooters, but it's really all about their defense.
Now, of course, 5-0 in district. Do you see any other team in district kind of avenging a loss to the John Tyler Lady Lions?
I definitely see the trip to Lufkin being a potential hazard for them. Lufkin's got some good size, and that's kind of JT's Achilles heel. They don't have too much size. So if JT can get past that trip to Lufkin, then I think they can go undefeated in district.
Awesome. Now switching sides over to the boys team. They're 3-1 in district currently. So far, scoring has looked pretty much even throughout all the players. Is anybody emerging as a star, or is it just team basketball?
That's really what this team is about. Is any guy on any given night can step up and hit for 20 or 15 or whatever they need. Last night, Jakari Lewis came up with 16 points. He kind of led the way. He was hot early with a couple 3-pointers. But really, I think the spark for them recently has been Bryson Smith. He's the backup quarterback. He's probably going to be the quarterback next year. But he's a young sophomore who's come in after basketball season. He's really kind of sparked him on both ends of the floor, both getting him going on defense and dishing the ball, getting assists and steals all at the same time.
Now, the rest of district, who do you see being a problem for the boys' side?
They're going to have to avenge that loss to Nacogdoches, of course. They went down to Nacogdoches, got a loss there, kind of put them behind a little bit. But it's going to be tough against Lufkin. They already beat Corsicana, which is another of the teams to watch for. But I think a district champion probably might have 2 or 3 losses.
2 or 3. Awesome. We'll keep our eyes on that. Real quick, of course, the boys, Robert E. Lee Red Raiders basketball team, they're here. The girls are away. Boys, girls, who walks away with the win? Who loses? Who do you think?
Well, they're both playing Naaman Forest. Robert E. Lee guys are playing. Naaman Forest is last in the district for the guys. So this is Robert E. Lee needs to take care of business in this game. They need to win this ball game, especially being at home. And then if you look at the girls Naaman Forest team has kind of struggled a little bit too, and I think the Lee girls can go on the road and get a victory.
Awesome. We'll check that out as well. Same thing for you this Friday. Both teams travel to Lindale. Girls at 6, guys at 7:30. Do they both walk away with a win? Somebody lose? Let us know.
Yeah, I think so. I think the JT girls, the way they're playing, they're going to roll. Lindale has kind of fallen off a little bit since they won the district title 2 years ago. In the boys' game, Lindale beat JT last year in the Lions' Den, and I think the JT players will remember that and want to get a little revenge.
Awesome. Keep your eyes open for that. We thank you guys. Thank you for joining us for the ETFinalScore's.com preview show. That's going to wrap things up for us. If you can't make it to any of the games, feel free to go to ETFinalScore.com and check out both of these guys' awesome articles that you can have instantly.